Welcome to the Workshop Podcast, hosted by Everthought. Each week we bring you interviews with industry leaders. As a leading Australian registered training organisation specialised in building and construction, we will be sharing our knowledge about trade and education. Whether you are interested in apprenticeship, recognition of prior learning, on-campus studies for international and domestic students, or online delivery, this podcast unpacks what you need to know to start or boost your trades career with insights, tips, and latest news from the government.
Hello, workshoppers, and welcome to episode 3 of the workshop. Tools down, grab some smoko, sit on the eskies and bring them a little bit closer. We have an amazing episode for you today. New year, new course, new trainer. We're going to be talking everything painting and decorating with Brian. Brian, welcome on.
How you going, James?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I bet you didn't think your first week was going to end up in here.
No, not at all. Any chance of getting guys interested in the field of painting and decorating?
Getting mucky for a living.
Exactly. They're putting the wet stuff on.
Awesome. Brian, tell me all about yourself.
Okay. I'm originally from the ACT, Canberra, but I did my apprenticeship back in 88. Yeah, I'm an old man.
Tell me more about your apprenticeship in 88.
It was through Bruce TAFE College, or TAFE actually, and from that it's a 4-year course.
Yep.
We went to school once a week on the Tuesdays. It wasn't block release way back then, and you did school for 3 years, and you were on the tools for 4 years.
That's quite a long process.
It is, but fortunately enough, I did it through the Master Builders Association. Yep. Which, fortunately enough, my dad was running the apprenticeship scheme.
Which is helpful.
Yeah, so I could have actually done any apprenticeship I wanted to, but that's a long story anyway. But yeah, if you got 75% plus, you actually get 4 months knocked off your apprenticeship.
Ah.
So I actually did it in 3 years instead of 4.
Nice. Very well done.
It was good, especially being older as well. It helped out because the wages weren't all that great way back then. It's changed a fair bit now.
So you said you could basically do any apprenticeship you want. So why the wet stuff? Why paint?
Well, basically, I needed something, and I'm obviously speaking to my old man, he just said you need something to fall back on. And a trade was one of those things that you could quite easily fall back on. And it's helped me out over the time as well. But painting, you don't need a lot of tools to go and paint a house or just to do some maintenance work. It was cheaper. All you need is pretty much a ladder, paintbrush, a pot, a roller, a roller bucket, and you can go and paint something.
Awesome.
So it was a cheaper option that I found.
Okay, so you finished your apprenticeship. What happened next?
Basically, I finished my apprenticeship and I got out straight away. Then I just ventured in a few things. I was a debt collector there for a while. And then my girlfriend back then, now she's my wife, wanted to come over to WA because her brother was over here working in the mines. She wanted to come over and I said, yeah, why not? So I'll come over for a year. I had about 15 years in the mining industry. And then unfortunately there was a fire in the mine and it got closed down. And I picked up work within a week back on the tools. And
wow.
I've been on the tools since.
Cool. Yeah. So what sort of things have you seen when you were on the tours?
I've worked on various sites throughout WA in regards to the Children's Hospital. Don't say too much about that.
No, no one does.
A couple of properties around the foreshore and the Swan, all that sort of stuff. Down south, I was help running the transition from Carltex to Ampol, all their service stations there, like painting them and all that sort of stuff. And then I went into sort of the maintenance type scenario where I was on the road and just patching and painting.
So a lot of commercial?
Yeah, a bit of commercial. I worked a little bit on the stadium, not much, but a little bit of time there. Yeah, mainly maintenance work, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So having done your apprenticeship and then sort of stepping out, how had the industry changed for you when you stepped back in? Oh,
the products. Yeah, the paints and so forth, especially going from enamel to water-based and all that sort of stuff. You've got Dulux that are trying to get away from the oil-based paints and more or less into the enamel water base, and other manufacturers have sort of followed the lead.
Well, they all started doing that about 12 years ago.
Yeah. So that's changed a fair bit. Even the technology within the paints changed a lot. Whereas when it first came out, it was hard to apply. You pretty much had to have perfect conditions.
Of course, because with the heat here as well, the
and
oil
the
would
wind and all that sort of stuff. But now the technology within the paints has got a lot better, and it's easier. It's easier. You still may have to put additives in it, but it's a lot easier to play with these days. Yeah.
Any other changes?
Obviously, your fillings and all that sort of stuff got a lot better. Drying times and so forth, so you're not waiting around as much, watching the paint dry. You know how it goes.
It's like watching cricket.
Yeah, exactly. Test anyway. At least the test go for 3 days, not 5 now. But like even the tools are a lot better. The only problem is with the brushes. You could say they're all gone synthetic now.
Yeah,
which is not bad, but they're easy to clean, pretty easy to maintain.
What's the big difference in between the bristle and the synthetic?
Probably the wear and tear of them, really.
Okay. Not as good quality.
The bristle's a lot better, especially when you're using the gloss paints.
Yeah.
You tend to get a better sort of mirror finish, more so than the synthetic. Sometimes, if you haven't sort of played with the paint a little bit, you do get brush strokes through it, and depends on how you put it on as well.
And obviously also the temperature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, there has been a lot of changes in tools and paints and all that sort of stuff, which is for the best, which is really good. Yeah.
In your experience, who do you think makes a great painter?
I would just say just about anybody. Anyone who likes to see a finished product. Sometimes...
It's interesting you said that. So I had Sandro on before, and he said the same thing about wall and floor tiling. Yeah. Is that it's about the finished product?
Yeah. We're a finishing trade. So we come after basically everybody. We're usually the last ones in. But you've gone from a blank canvas, bare wood or bare metal or even bare timber and plasterboard and all that sort of stuff, and you put a bit of colour on it, wet stuff, and it just brings up a picture. Everything's looking nice, fresh, clean. Just you walk into a house and everything, even without furniture, and everything is just nice and clean. You just feel good walking in and having a look. But as a painter, actually seeing that from start to finish, it's rewarding.
What are you excited about with the new course?
To be honest, changing people's lives. To be honest, I did work in the prisons for 3 years, and I had a pretty good experience with an inmate who got out of prison. I was in Dulux at the time, and he tapped me on the shoulder and put his hand out, shook my hand, and for some reason I just couldn't picture him. I said, well, I know you from somewhere, but I just don't know your name. And he said, I've just started as a brush hand, and my world just changed.
That's cool.
Basically, because I made a difference. And through education, that's my job, is to make someone change their lives, get their life on track, have something to fall back on and move forward. And that's what I want to be a part of.
Speechless. It's not often someone catches me out speechless. Do you have any other success stories from your time back then?
I created a painting team within the prison.
Cool.
Which was quite good, which did one of the main educating buildings in the prison, which was quite good. We had four painters from my course that did the course and got them up to a standard that the powers that be were quite happy with their standard, because they came and had a look at their work down in the workshop, and they says, well, let's give them a go. And we did a couple of rooms, and they were happy with it. And they said, the whole building internally is yours. So that crew was working probably about 2.5, 3 months to actually do that whole building, which was quite rewarding, considering that that was their main job in mornings, and everyone was seeing. So from that, it built, everyone wanted to do painting, because what the inmates were seeing is that they were actually doing a job within a prison. It wasn't just a mundane thing, go back to your cell block and do whatever. You're actually doing a job. So it took a lot of time, thinking, whatever, but it was getting them ready to actually do some work on the outside as well.
I would imagine, though, in the wrong hands, that would have gone quite spectacularly wrong. Yep. So what did you do to foster that environment? Yeah,
well, fortunate enough, the prison had a pretty good system in regards to controlling the tools. And not only that, they had peer tutors, which was actually an inmate, which helped me. It was just a matter of me overseeing the tutor, communicating with the tutor, this is what we want to do, this is the area that we want to do. We barricaded the area off, went in and painted it. Once it's finished, moved on to the next area. So in essence, the areas that we were in, we were the only ones there, but we were restricted with our time. So it was quite good that we had a painting team, so we were able to do whatever we had to do in the time frame they gave us, which was quite good. But we didn't have that interaction all over. It's just we closed off an area, we went in, painted, and then we moved on to the next once it's finished.
Amazing. We're recording this now during O Week, and it's been a pretty busy first week for you.
Yeah, it certainly has.
And I would imagine you've been doing a lot of planning. In terms of material, what are the guys going to be working with?
Obviously, they're going to be working with everyday painting materials as far as tools and paints and so forth. But
I want name drops.
Not quite sure yet, but I've got to talk to Dulux and Waddle at the moment, but we'll move forward with those two. We're setting up cubicles and giving them ownership of their areas, which I think it's very important. They can go in there and say, right, this is your area, this is what you need to do, let's maintain it. So they've got some sense of...
This is their project?
Yep, and they can... What I mentioned earlier on in regards to seeing start to finish, they'll see exactly that.
So walk me through it.
Yep.
I'm stepping into a cubicle day one.
Yep.
What are we doing?
Well, having a look and going over what substrates are there. What I mean by substrate is what sort of surfaces they are, whether it's wooden door, wooden frame or metal frame.
Are we going to mix that up?
Yeah, we got render. We'll have plasterboard or drywall, whatever you want to call it these days.
Can I put my hand up for my office getting done first?
Actually, our offices will be getting done too, so which is good. Which is another good part for the guys.
Yeah,
because it's not going from new; it's actually redoing, which is slightly different. But again, you'll see some good results.
What are we doing next after that?
Looking at substrate and seeing what materials we can use to actually bring it up to a standard of painting. So we go through a process of preparing the surface in regards to maybe sanding, filling, washing, possibly with sugar soap. And then going through the process of undercoating or sealing, and then getting into your finish coats and so forth, whether it could be low sheen, gloss, depending if we're going to put gutters as well, so you'll get to use some external paints as well. You'll learn how to match colours as well.
I was just about to ask, because obviously it's a massive statement, colour on a wall. Are we going to pick some colours?
Yes, certainly will. And match colours as well, which is very important.
Big art. I also know who to go to in the paint shop.
Who's that?
Oh, well, that used to be me, actually. So back in the day, I was in the paint. I used to love doing the colour matching. So I think part of the trade is knowing who to go to in the shop to get your colour match.
Well, it's like we'll be doing it the hard way in regards to yourself doing it. These days you can...
Oh, you're going to self-mix it?
You can,
Nice.
You can scrape a bit off the wall and take it to your Dulux or Waddle store or even Bunnings too, and take the sample in and they'll match the colour for you.
And by Dulux store, do you mean the actual trade store?
Yes,
or like
that's correct.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. But we'll teach you how to do it there and there on the ground as well. So.
I'd love to get collared into that because I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Are we going to be mucking around with a bit of render, any protective coatings?
Yep, different sort of coatings, marble finish. So you can paint a door that looks like marble.
Nice.
Wood grain finish as well. We'll get into some texture coating and all that sort of stuff. And depending on how you're progressing and all that sort of stuff, I want to do some epoxy and all that sort of stuff. At times we're going to be moving forward. And with that time and space, we'll get to learn other things, like more special coatings and all that sort of stuff. They'll get a little bit more out of it, I hope.
I hope so too. It sounds really, really exciting.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, what would you say to a student that's struggling a little bit to start with? What sort of things can we do to help them out?
It's a matter of talking to them, really, and finding out what they may have an issue. Working in the prison for 3 years, you get to learn to deal with situations.
Sure.
People that get up on the wrong side of their bed and all that sort of stuff, and maybe missed a phone call that makes a massive difference in the way they're feeling. So you've got to be able to read the person that you're dealing with and speak to them, seeing what they want out of it, and then communicating with them to find out how we can get there. I think communication is massive with me. If you communicate with me, go far. You'll pass the course and you'll enjoy doing it because it's all about improving yourself, giving them an opportunity and showing them that possibly you could start your own painting business after it.
I was just about to ask where, because we've just taken in our first intake of painting and decorating, and where do you foresee these guys going?
Well, hopefully they stay in the painting game and develop their own business over time. It's pretty competitive out there, but if it's word of mouth, you do a house for your family or your friends and all that sort of stuff, the word gets around, he's done a great job, all right, let's get him in. And then it can grow and grow and grow. And the world's your oyster, really. Everything needs to be painted eventually because paint doesn't last. It does go off occasionally. Colour fades, this, that, and whatever. People move into a new house. Oh, I don't like these colours. Let's change it. Let's get a painter in. Why not? A lot of people don't like painting because of the prep work and all that sort of stuff. But in saying that, it's changed a lot with the tools you can use for prep work. You've got sanders and all those sorts of things. Whereas when I was doing my trade, everything was by hand.
Cork block.
Yeah, exactly. So the time I used to spend doing prep work is cut in half or a quarter now. You got the right tool for the job, you can get through it pretty quick.
How long does it take to do a room? Start to finish, roughly?
Well, this room, basically, you got the 4 walls and you've got the window frame and the door. Fortunate enough, it's already been painted, but you've got to allow for drying time. Paint dry again, watching the paint dry. But if you undercoat everything, that means it goes through a process. And probably 2 days.
Let's touch on apprenticeships a little bit. So we have a completely different model from obviously the international students that do their 2-year course here on campus. We actually offer a flexible education learning model actually out on site. And obviously that offers quite a lot of different advantages. What are we going to give these guys that nobody else can?
I reckon being able to run your own business. I think that's the goal. Being good enough being better than good enough, to be honest, to be confident in going out there, sourcing work and completing job to above the industry standard and maintaining that workflow.
So really what we're going to be looking at is the more real world principles of applying paint.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Making sure you're doing the job correctly. There's no callbacks or anything like that. You get in there, do the job once and you'll get repeat business from that.
What sort of things get a callback typically from a client?
Maybe you haven't put enough paint on. There's a bit of shadowing. The prep work isn't good enough. Ultimately, if you want to do a good job, the prep work has to be spot on because when you put on the high sheen paints, like the glosses, semi-glosses, even low sheen and all that sort of stuff, they don't hide. They actually
especially if you've done orange first.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But so prep work's very important. So
okay.
If you do that right, the job's going to look good majority of the time.
Brian, I think that was great. Thank you.
No worries.
Guys, if you would like to come and meet Brian, Brian's available at the Perth campus. And this is episode 3 of our Everthought Trainer Showcase series. Thank you so much for listening. And we're looking forward to welcoming you onto a campus near you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Workshop Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and we will see you again next week. The podcast is hosted by Everthought Education, RTO 32438, Everthought College of Construction, RTO 51681, Cricos 028980.